Hello and welcome to the skating lesson. My name is Dave Lees.
And I'm Jonathan Byer. Hi, Dave.
This is This and That. We are going to be discussing everything about the 2022 U.S. Figure Skating Championships. Later this week, we'll be covering Canada and Korea in a joint show, and we will be giving that to you probably around Tuesday. But we thought that we would get the show underway. There has been no official announcement for the men's team, and we didn't even eat yet. We just came from the arena. And we thought, why don't we have the discussion that everyone
Dave, I'm vibrating. I'm like vibrating from that event.
I am too. And I had such mixed feelings. You know, I'm really tired. I don't know if anyone else feels this, but when you go to a nationals and like you're seeing people and you're watching, it's a lot of emotional energy.
And Dave, then you go home and then you got all the emotional energy of two other nationals that are happening. And I'm trying to watch like I'm getting like...
And it's, you know, and you're seeing friends and you're catching up and it's a reunion and it's great and it's everything, but it's so tiring. So yeah, it's every year it's something.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like emotional, and I was like, I feel sad, but I don't know why I feel sad. Like I'm having a great time, and it's just that emotional spent feeling that comes. Even getting here was so hard. Being here in COVID, we just want to talk about, we've been wearing our N95 masks the whole time. On the streets, not so much. We had a thing where we would tip our drivers who wore the N95 masks, those who didn't in the Uber. You know, Uber asks you, are you going to wear your mask? And you have to check out that you are, but a lot of the drivers here aren't. So that's worrying, because think about parents of skaters going through like, there's just so many variables when you think about protecting the Olympic team.
Right.
And what will happen and what can happen. And obviously people have been testing, and there's so much speculation throwing around the event. Yeah. What is your take on everyone wants to talk about it. Why did you decide to come?
Oh, to Nashville?
Well, everyone has wanted to know, you know, like why.
Well,
People ask you why you're coming? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I am double vaxxed and boosted, and I know that does not make you invincible, but it does make me feel more comfortable traveling with my mask and in an event that we all had to check vaccinations to get in. Everyone did wear their masks. I thought in the arena, everyone was behaving properly in the seats and wearing the masks. And I don't know, I felt it was a risk I was able to take, and I feel comfortable in my hotel room and where I've been and things like that. But for these athletes, again, it's a lot of trust in a lot of circles that then converge into their little bubble. And we'll talk about this a little bit, but you know, they're making the announcements that seemingly they don't interact with fans. And of course, we knew that went right out the window with several competitors. And when they're having a moment, I'm sure it's a subconscious, you know, slip up that happens, but it's tricky. And I think overall, it could have been much worse, quite frankly. And it's good not having it. Do you think that it seemed like everyone thought USFS should have just done it without the spectators? I personally was unsure that the spectators
would the answer. And the reason I don't think that, and someone made a really good point messaging me different coaches throughout the week. And they said, you know, one of the biggest issues is the travel. You just don't know, being in the airport, you know, that exposure alone. I mean, it's hard. You know, we had plans, you want to see people we haven't seen because of COVID in years. For some of it, you know, it's a really special time for so many people to come and do it. And ultimately I, you know, weighed the pros and cons and decided to come. And obviously everyone wants to be a part of it, but, you know, knowing the risks that I could be sick when I come back, and that's the reality of it. And having to deal with that, but also knowing that I could also be sick going to Pilates next week. You know, that's as well.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Then I probably will have to isolate and not see my family for a couple of weeks because of, you know, that So, and that's, you know, that is what it is. But that was something that I definitely thought about before coming here. But yeah, the
blizzard ended up causing more of an issue.
Blizzard, yes. I thought
in Tennessee, where we had all this snow, it's like Detroit here.
4 different flights, you know, it was going to be, and then I was, you know, the hard part was because Nashville had a snowstorm, but then that snowstorm was going north to where we were from, right? And it was like, okay, Nashville's airport shut down. They're predicting like a foot of snow. Is our airport going to shut down in the morning? You know, some of those flights were delayed. Obviously, American always has that connection in Charlotte, right? And you're like, oh God, you know, my United flight had been canceled. You know, so yeah, it was. I wound up taking an Uber to JFK. It wound up all working out, but just
Just a little differently than anticipated. Yeah.
It was a memorable experience, I would say.
Do you want the real story? Because the real story is I was supposed to be on the same flight, it turns out, as Tim Gable. And I was like, okay, see you in the terminal. And then I got to the airport and it was such like a cluster. And because I saw how cold the weather was, I switched my heavy coat at the last minute. And that my other coat had my wallet in it. So I got to the airport and went to check in and was like, and I have no ID, goodbye. And so I had to go back, and that flight ended up landing in time for all of the events. The later flight that they bumped me to is why I missed the first pairs, the pairs short program, and I missed the first two groups of the ladies. So I had to watch the big Gracie Gold moment in an Uber, like on the way to the arena. It was killer.
We watched the ladies at night when we got here, trying to get food from Uber Eats that never came because every restaurant was shut down in the city, and the Uber Eats said that the restaurants were open, but they weren't. Anyway,
and Uber was a nightmare at the airport. Like, you know, you got there and of course all the cabs are taken, all the Ubers are busy. Like it was an unusual time.
It was unusual, yeah. But that said, funny being in the audience, I sat next to the sweetest woman here, who just goes to almost all the nationals, you know, writes down all the scores and genuinely just like loves every guy. Oh, Jason, I love him. Adam, oh, my favorite. Oh my God, go Washington State. You know, oh my God, it was just.
That's charming, yeah.
I never would have met this woman, Susan, had I not come here. So yeah, it was.
Worth it.
Yeah, so.
We always have Susan. Okay.
Yeah, we'll always have Susan. I said, you should come to my competitions. I need this kind of cheer.
Exactly. I want your enthusiasm for me. Yeah.
Yes. She was like, you know a lot about the skating. I was like, oh, thank you. That's true.
Yeah, Susan. Yeah.
So yeah, but let's talk about the men's event. It was the highlight event. They moved obviously the TV around to have it, although it is a little odd to me to not have the final. I mean, I'm a person of tradition, I'm a person of pattern, routine, but to me, you always have, you know, we always would have the biggest event on Saturday night, but obviously with the way that the TV works out, that they started moving things, and sometimes the ladies final has been on Saturday night, sometimes and the men were on Sunday. Now it was a weird situation where it was the ladies ended on Friday. Obviously this is all TV dictating all of this. And then they do, you know, the split group is so confusing. If you've never been to a nationals before, you don't know that they show like the really weaker dance teams, lower ranked, earlier in the morning, then, and no one goes. Okay, and then you have it was then the men's short in the afternoon, followed by the pairs.
And then the dance picked back up.
It's just like a really weird order. And I kind of wish that they did the men's short at night, but then again, those athletes need more time to recover, to get ready. There's like no real great.
Right. Well, and I have to say, this was one of the tickets would say one time, USFS said one time, and then Peacock Premium started throwing out some goofy times, like
the Central versus the Eastern versus everything is just so confusing. So yeah. We're East Coast snobs. Everything is on our time, but it's very challenging. Yes, but,
exactly.
But we've talked about this throughout the year. I predicted this would happen.
Yep.
That's not smug, by the way.
No, but it is meant to say that, like, when so many people are so surprised by things, and it's you pointing out, like, it was more of a possibility if you were looking closely.
Oh yeah, and I wanted to like just discuss why, because you know some people have been watching Ilia skates and they didn't know how like that he was very consistent, but I just want to say, having watched many sports and why I made this prediction in the fall, Jason Brown is actually my favorite skater to watch in the men's event.
100%.
I love to watch Nathan for his athleticism. Recently, there's been this thing that we don't like Nathan, and I don't understand that. I think we didn't love his old programs, but that doesn't mean that I don't like him, and I think he's an amazing athlete. We defended him as gay men when he said things about people. Like, I'm like, of all the things, like, but like it will be listed in the comments, and someone even said, well, you guys are hard on Nathan. I said, I don't think we're hard on him. I think we try to judge him accurately, right? And he's still an athlete, and this is still a competition. So
100%.
Anyway, to be about, you know, I think of the skaters that we've really enjoyed watching over the last several years, Jason, Joshua Ferris, Adam Rapon, always entertaining. Nathan, always incredible. Alex Johnson for his skating. But, you know, these are, you know, the people that we come to watch, you know, the Nationals. So, just because I don't like Nathan's costume doesn't mean I don't like him. Okay. I think whatever that costume was in the Elton John,
Flaming hot Cheetos.
Offensive to people with eyes. Okay. I thought we were on the sun, but then there's like this little green part, not like a sun.
I got the rockety tie-in, like it was some sort of outer spacey thing, but the green was the part that confused me. I don't know if that's something with space that I don't understand.
I don't know, but
I'm just going to say this: when the short program arrived, it was a much needed energy reset for the entire event and the arena after like a very weird day before.
Jonathan, you really stirred on Twitter on Friday. I was like, oh.
No, and I regret it. But then like to delete it feels even like more. It was supposed to be silly about Tenley Albright, and it came across all sorts of mean. And
I don't know. Well, no, because people have made these comments. I mean, look, my coach is very blunt. She's blunt with me about my skating. She's blunt with me about everything, right? And Galina is always saying to me, because she knows that we get obviously put in the Russian press, and they always take one comment out of context,
right, and pretend then that instead we promote the American skaters. Right.
So she always says, well, how about those American girls? How are they doing? So
no one said that they were doing better than the Russian girls. No one said that.
So she's like, you send me video of American girls, and I send it to her, and she was like, who is first place? And I said, oh my God. Who is second? And I thought, oh my God. Who is third? You know, short program. And And then I said, oh, do you think the American ladies look competitive for like 1988? That is very rude. Don't be so mean to Christy Yamaguchi. She was doing triple out, triple toe 1988.
And Debbie had the triple. Like, I mean, this was in 88. Yeah. Yeah. Nancy did a triple. Tanya Midori's were doing the axles. I mean,
85. Listen to her on the Santee podcast talking about interesting thing that Nancy said is that she actually could land a triple axle. Like the 1 week we worked on, obviously we don't know if it was fully rotated or what, or quad, but Nancy does look like she has that natural innate athleticism to do those jumps. Although sometimes her double axles can be a little scary, but I digress. But anyway, Nancy said that the reason Evie told her not to do it, and obviously Tanya would become so famous for the triple axel, is he said it will ruin your knees. If you want to have a long career, don't do it.
Oh.
You don't need it. And at that point in time, she didn't need it.
She didn't need it. Yeah.
Now it's a different story. But think about how right he was about longevity and careers and sports with the quads. I know Megan Duhamel's gonna be like, I did a quad throw for 75 years. You're also built like a shit brick house, Megan. I mean, God damn.
Titanium knees, yeah. Okay.
I love when Megan tweets out her feelings. I mean, it really just gives me such joy, whether I agree with her or not. Like,
but there is a passion for her sport. That's all you can ask. Yeah.
Sandra Bezic would say, Megan Duhamel has passion. She's passionate.
Big feelings about the sport right now.
I did talk to her the other day. I said, you were in the Tara documentary about the pairs. And she said, Tara was very hands-on in the process. It was like the same kind of Tara focus that she had, going into the Olympics, like that she's putting into producing. And I think fantastic. People, will shade their commentary, but I think this is someone that has some gifts in terms of attention to detail. And
this is the medaling show.
Yeah, and it's really well done. They have a really interesting part about Moskvina where they all talk about how likable she is and you don't fully trust her ever.
Yeah. So. They're not mutually exclusive things.
Not mutually exclusive. Okay. Yeah. But there's a weird acting part where they dance on stage and they're kind of recreating what's going on in the drama. That's a little artistic that you see in any of these things. I mean, an interesting touch, but not my favorite. I'm excited to see all these people. And at the same point, I'm sick of hearing from some of these people at the same time, but I still want to watch it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, on the same subject matter. Yeah.
I really wish that they had followed the Montreal dance teams with the same fervor that they are following, like in the Golden series, but maybe Tara will give us Golden in the future. And that's great, you know, for broadcasting. And I recommend watching it. I enjoyed it. And I recommend watching the On Edge. I think it was much better than the All Around series about the gymnasts. So that never had the translations up in the right way on YouTube. So anyway, I digress. Moving forward, let's start with this men's discussion, what we saw coming. By the way, Joseph, things that we have said on here that we said we're very clear about at the beginning of the season that have come true. I just want to like do a scorecard.
You better start with Diana Davis, Dave.
Diana Davis.
Because that was the one I was like, oh, Dave. And then literally each day I was like, oh my gosh.
I gave an interview to the Russian press where I spoke to them the way Russians speak to Americans.
With kindness and patience and warmth?
Yeah.
Okay. And when do you expect that interview to come out?
Around the 10th.
Okay. Right in time for Europeans.
Europeans good for everyone. Okay.
Yeah, where Diana Davis may win a medal, by the way.
Okay. We predicted Diana Davis. Ilia Malinin.
Mm-hmm.
Mariah Bell, we said that she had to switch both programs. The first time we saw it, we said both were awful.
Right.
Nathan switching both programs.
Yep.
Hated them both.
Kolyada switching programs.
Kolyada.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 100%.
That COVID nationals, and the other thing that we have said, and I know that I wrote this in a number of texts this week because I have told it to people who are in the mix for it or coaches. If you are an alternate on this Olympic team,
keep training.
Not just keep training, keep isolating, keep taking your airborne, and keep mentally up. And don't let yourself get depressed because it is not over.
Right.
It's not even close to over. Especially if you had to travel here and travel home on a commercial airplane. Like, people are not flying on private jets into here.
Yeah, Nexus doesn't have a deal with USFS.
Yeah. So you are anything, it is not over.
Yeah.
And you know, I was talking to Olga and she was saying, oh, you know, Audrey and Misha, they seem a little down before the free. And I was like, it is not over. It is not over no matter what. Okay. Like, this is COVID and it's, you don't wish it on anyone, but it is
anything possible though. Anything is possible. Yeah.
So, and I believe.
I'm curious about the alternates. Like in history, I base this only on Emily Hughes' recount of getting the call, is that the alternates aren't necessarily in the country. And I would imagine in a COVID Olympics, you're definitely not going to be on site. But would you just go hang out in Asia somewhere nearby? So you're like right there if you need to be?
They haven't told us that. I do think that with China and all of these travelings, I actually think they might fly from the US to there. It might be, I think there's so many things about being let into the country. I don't know if getting into other countries is going to be difficult as well. Like, you can't fly to Japan. Usually when there's an event in China in 2008, the US women's gymnastics team trained in Japan and then flew over. And I don't know why they did that instead of another gym in China, but that's what they chose to do. I don't think you can do that this year. We saw the grand final get canceled being in Japan. So I think there are different situations that will make that more challenging.
I'm intrigued by that. Yeah.
I actually knew that there were members of the Canadian team that knew their assignments ahead of time in case nationals didn't go off or people didn't, skate up to par. I mean, I think they were all pending with an asterisk and everything like that, but people kind of knew what they were going to get. I think it was interesting here with the COVID. Alexa having COVID at the beginning, or not, sorry, Brandon having COVID, but we heard Alexa and Brandon, being out of the competition. I don't know about you, but I kept watching and being like, wait, Jenny and Todd are on TV. Of course, of course they're going to get it, right? But then you think, okay, they're on TV. You're doing like contact tracing, like we learned at the beginning, like, wait, who are Jenny and Todd next to? And they're next to all these people in the kiss and cry. And yes, they're double masked, but oh my goodness.
Well, even bringing it back to men, I was sad to hear, of course, I love Tracy Wilson. I was sad to hear that she contracted it, but she also was just in a rental car with Jason for hours driving here. So
Jason is at risk.
Yeah. And now is standing next to Nathan, is skating on the warm up with Nathan and everybody else. And you're just sort of like, what is happening?
I did notice in the ice dance event, it was so interesting. And there are different people. Obviously, Russian nationals had no masks.
Right.
The Montreal dance teams, I mean, Marie-France pulled Papadakis and Cizeron out. They had a very rough go with COVID the first time. And she is very clear, you stay healthy. We were hearing that the teams actually had tried to pull out of nationals if they could, and they weren't able to. Very interesting, because they do have the entire Olympic team coming from Gabois, but that Montreal team, but they had tried to pull out. And it does, interesting. They had N95 masks on in the warm-up. Hubbell and Donohue also had their N95 mask on when they came out just for the 2 minutes before they skated, before their names were called. So that was interesting to see. And
we're not risking it. Yeah.
But let's talk about the men's selection. I do know your team because I saw you in the corridor, and I tweeted, so I think people know what I think, but I haven't really expressed why. And I called Galina to make sure I wasn't crazy, emotional and everything. What is your team, Jonathan? I think you represent the heart of fans for so many people. What?
Yes, and as a true fan, and as someone that comes from the world of performance and music, I don't know anyone else who has moved me and impressed me like Jason Brown. That Sinnerman program, even though they moved my favorite part of the music, is still to me one of the giant masterpieces I have ever seen in skating. Having said that, I go with the placements on this one. Yeah. I really do. I am sending on my team, my select. Oh my God, I almost want to get sad for Jason right now. And it's unfortunate. And people will say things about PCS.
It feels like you're retiring someone, because he's not going to be the alternate. If you don't send him to the Olympics and he's the first alternate, he doesn't go to 4 continents. Maybe he goes to Worlds if, let's say, Nathan wins the Olympics and doesn't go to Worlds.
Right. Or like with Max Aaron in 2014, there's sort of that consolation prize world spot. I don't know where Jason feels about it, but we're going to talk about this in.
But they could flip it. I mean, people are arguing, we'll send Jason to the Olympics and send. I mean, fans have not believed. There are people, lovers of figure skating. There are people that have gotten so mad at me for saying this year Ilia could go over Jason.
So here's what I ask those people to really think about.
It's stronger than Paul Wiley love. Okay.
Yeah, and it's sentimental, and it's again.
But the quality of the sport and what we love about skating that he represents.
But unfortunately, he's not able to change the direction of skating right now. So in general, I am also, as an educator, there's enormous value in promoting the future. And we have 2 disciplines here, because we're going to talk about it in dance in a major way also. If you're USFS, I think yes, you have your 2 spots. You have a Nathan and you have Vincent. They're going to go do their thing. What about the future? If you have denied the future, I just don't. What if they had kept Jason off the team in 2014 and sent Max Aaron? We need to cultivate the next 4 years, and I think we do that by sending someone like Ilia to the Olympics, not by giving Jason a thank you prize. And I think Jason is worthy of all the thank you prizes, because he's freaking amazing and I love him.
I want to invite him to skate at the Olympic opening and gala. Okay.
Yes.
In a special worldwide.
And I want to give him whatever consolation prize he wants. What do you want?
Not a consolation prize. I want to give Jason a spot in a show. I want to give him a spot in a spectacular. I know Benoit, I saw him last night. They're postponing his show because of COVID, but put Jason Brown in the beginning. Okay. 100%. Have him open the show. Do it an iconic original composition for Jason.
And the argument about, USA cares about quads and not PCS is wrong. By the way, USA always goes with a sentimental skating quality.
Not always, though. At nationals, the scoring tends to go with the technical, and it often is hard for people. And I think we saw it the other night, actually, where they go for the jumper and their components tend to get scored higher. And this is how Jeremy didn't make Worlds in 2011, which is a mistake. It was a mistake. Okay. They go. The technical person, they get higher GUE at nationals and they get higher PCS, right? You have the advantage if you are stronger in the technical side. And what it does is there's only so high you can go, right, on the second mark. And it's really not 50-50 anymore based on the overvaluing of the technical score.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Right. But then when you boost someone's components and gets higher than they deserve, what happens is it cuts down the strength of like a Carolina Costner or Jason, someone like that who would get those extra points. Their 15-point lead becomes 5 points or becomes 7 points or 8 points. And that their buffer is gone.
Right.
And that's what happens at nationals time and time again. And it happens at many nationals, but it really happens at US nationals in time.
I just think if we choose 3 people that will most likely retire and not send someone to cultivate the future, it's a missed opportunity for growth and development in the program.
Yeah. I mean, here,
and they're going to say he doesn't have the body of work. He qualified for
that argument, but
both. He has the Austria qualifying points. Like,
he has the Junior Grand Prix. Look, Paulina Edmonds didn't either. He landed so many quads under pressure, and this is the one thing I will see.
High quality quads.
Here's what I saw on the warm up, and I filmed it. I'm going to post it on the channel afterwards. Always watch the warm up. The final group, you have to check in with everyone to see their nerves, because Scott Hamilton told us in 1992, before Christy Yamaguchi, Midori Ito, Tanya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan, Saria Bonali, and Alicia Joubert took the ice. He said, this is Olympic pressure. And you could watch all of their faces look like ghosts out there.
Yeah.
But Christy was handling it like business, right? What we saw in this warm-up, Vincent Zhou missed every single jump.
He was so rattled today. Yeah.
Why? He was landing forward. He was falling. Ilia missed a couple jumps early and then found his feet and nailed it. Interesting, right? Jason, without a coach, really here because Tracy was supposed to take him here. And they've had problems with COVID in the cricket in the last couple of weeks. That's why it's so ironic that she got it right now, because people were at Thornhill training because the cricket club had issues with COVID. Okay. He was going for that quad sal. And I don't know about you, but I felt that Jason needed to be perfect tonight and make people cry.
Yeah.
The one way you don't do that with Schindler's List is opening on a fall.
Right. All the gravitas is gone.
Gone, right? And when Jason falls on the quad, he gets tight in the triple axles, and the second triple axle was cheated. And that
was the thing. There were lots of tight landings, a lot of under rotations called or not called.
But and for a lot of the men, talk about the irony of all ironies. In the short, on the Jumbotron, they were showing the quad cell and from Vincent Zhou, and that was the jump everyone wanted to see. And it stopped right where you were going to hit.
The camera froze on the rotation.
And I was like, of all people, of all jumps for this to happen, oh my God.
I was like, I don't know who's running that camera right now.
I have to say,
coach, get in there.
Jason's quad lots in the short, honey, okay, like that was not his best. But he did some gorgeous jumps in the free. I think for you look at Jason, stunning short program.
Stunning.
We've seen Jason skate live many times. I felt he was lacking some of the speed, and I felt it this whole season, even on TV, and he had an ankle injury over the summer that took him out. I just felt like some of his speed and power was gone, and even the spins, while the best of the event.
But was still losing some points on some, yeah.
But not, it was almost as though 2 years ago at 2020 Nationals was like the best we would see of Jason.
Right.
In some respects. And he was great at Worlds, but it just wasn't up to, when you see an athlete and when they're at their peak and then they start to slide with age, you just like see little signs, right? And I think he peaked earlier and has been trying and working really hard and delivering some gorgeous programs. I didn't feel either program was as strong as last year, although in person, there were some really beautiful nuances to Schindler's List. There was like the shoulder roll that I saw in person that we hadn't seen. His choreographic sequence was so stunning. Everyone was wowing for Jason's. No one even had a reaction to Vincent Zhou's.
Right.
But people are also making the argument, well, send Ilia, just don't send Vincent. He didn't make the free skate at Worlds. He got the spot at Nebelhorn.
You have to send Vincent.
He won Skate America.
Yeah.
He won Nebelhorn and Skate America, made the final.
Yeah.
And
he could be a bronze medalist.
And
he could be.
Was top 3 here. The judges helped both Jason and Vincent. You can argue who they helped more. That's a very real argument that you could have. And we all love Jason so much.
I know. And it's, again, there's two things going on here. And it's like, what do you like? What would I ever watch again? And what's going to be the most competitive at the Olympics, and what keeps this federation relevant?
Vanessa Aller was my favorite gymnast in 2000. My favorite, ride or die, everything, right? The fan in me was like, how dare she not go to the Olympics? I cannot watch. Of course I watched. It wasn't the same. It felt sad, but like, of course, right? I would not send her. Looking back in hindsight, seeing the signs, I also don't know that I would send Alysa Liu. Just telling you. So, and I'll explain why.
We're definitely going to get to that then, because I'm gonna pick that right back up when we get to the ladies, because I was trying to think. It reminds me of like '93. I thought was the
Tanya deserved to go. Okay, Tanya deserved to go.
The fact that you would send someone like Lisa who couldn't jump past a loop, you know what I mean? You're just.
It was Tanya Kwiatkowski who really got the boost that year.
Yeah, and you're just sort of like, I know you're trying to send a message and set tones and stuff, but at some point you kind of got to like snap out of it and figure out what the Olympics is about, placements and stuff. Fortunately, Jason has been to the Olympics. He does have a team medal, and I don't think any one of these will make the team event that much better or worse. You know,
yeah.
I just think you have to develop Ilia. You have to develop the future.
So, Frank had told Ann Jensen, our good friend, everyone, I think a lot of skating people know Ann Jensen. She runs the skating club. She's one of the biggest volunteers in U.S. figure skating. She goes to governing council every year. She's also, the assistant for Krista Fossey, Frank Carroll. She's worked with Tiffany Chin, Linda Frediani. He told her, he said, look, Linda was the future in 76, and they made sure that she went.
Yeah.
But back then, the judges were maybe more partisan than they even are now at some parts. You could argue they are or they aren't. But
by sending Linda,
I and Randy were sent as the future.
Yeah,
and they were, and probably the right call in both of those situations.
Jason was sent as the future in 2014.
He was, and you could argue whether or not that materialized or not. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Paulina was sent as the future. She did win 4 continents the next year, and she was a mainstay on the U.S. team.
Right.
Saw her last night. She looked great in this stunning red dress. Her hair, she was coming from the Hall of Fame. She's doing a ton of work from the Bay Area for the Olympics. She's really working it. I'm like, when are we going to see you on TV, Paulina? You keep doing it. And I said, and we love that your podcast is sponsored by gambling. It makes me pee every time. Okay.
And she in on the joke with you? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yes. Okay. Where was I going with this? Okay. Getting back.
Paulina, we were talking about like the future being represented at the Olympics in addition to the now. Brian went in 84. Scott went in 80.
Scott went in 80 is the future, right? And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Okay, but then you also send the person everyone loves, like Adam Rapon, but he was so consistent the whole year. The problem, and Ilia won his junior Grand Prix. Granted, they weren't the best skates, but he's peaking at the right time. And the quads that he's doing, like when the technical and the sport is about technical right now. The sport is not about the full, complete skater. In 1998, it was about the full skater, right? In 1992, it was about the complete skater. It's not about that anymore. Love Mark Mitchell. Paul Wiley had more wow in him. Mark Mitchell was very correct, very beautiful, very this.
Mark Mitchell have won the silver.
Mark Mitchell, more consistent than Paul Wiley. Paul Wiley had that extra flair, that extra wow that in many reports Jason has, but it's not rewarded enough now. And that's
unfortunately, as long as PCS has that cap on it, he can't keep up. Yeah.
No, I think that that's wrong. And right. I would like to see those rules changed.
But the rules aren't that right now, unfortunately.
Rules aren't that. And unfortunately, he went out there with content that's not 2022. He went out there with content that Phil Hirsch was yelling about 8 years ago,
right.
Yelling about 12 years ago in 2010. Okay, so, and it wasn't going to happen. The quad, it was just not going to happen. And it's hard because, seeing the speed that's not the same at the end of Sinnerman, it didn't have the same pop that we've seen before. I think they should invite him to skate at nationals every year for the next 15 years.
I want to see it. I would want to see it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I want to see him and Richard Dwyer out there in a special moment, like for what he's given the sport. I wouldn't send him. And that's my logical brain. My emotional brain wants him to be there.
Yeah.
My logical brain.
Oh, my emotional brain wants him to win the gold medal at the Olympics. Do you know what I mean? Like, come on. But in the reality of also is USFS, as we're going to talk to, like, the predicament we're in with ladies, like.
Oh, you think it distracts when you could say we're sending the quad squad to the Olympics? That's what they're going to, come on. We have the quad squad for the men.
Right.
You have the commercials, have them all do quads. Every newspaper, how many quads are those boys attempting? How many are they going to land? Let's have a scorecard of the New York Times or USA Today. Christine Brennan could do a whole column. You check off how many quads are they all going to do? How many points?
And the fear, Dave, is sometimes if you have a quad squad that it's just like heinous, ugly quads, no skating skills, like da-da-da-da-da-da. That's not the case here. Ilia spins.
Scratch spin with the head back at the end was so stunning.
These are real qualities of skating. It's not like you're saying, it's not that generic like athlete or artist. Like Ilia can be both, needs to be cultivated and given the experience and the exposure. 100%.
Lena also says that Ilia Malinin has a face like Ilya Kulik, and that is a plus, she says.
Yeah. Right down to
I was like, Alina, I don't think that they officially judge on that criteria. Okay. Remember how the most gorgeous face? You know?
That falls under interpretation. Yeah. Okay.
I don't think that that's allowed to be one of the.
Looks like other champions. Yeah. That's funny.
Oh my God.
But I know it's an unpopular sentiment with fans, but
they want to bench Vincent. People are fine with Ilia. They want to bench Vincent. People wanted to bench Vincent 4 years ago too.
That's based on personality or something. It's not based on actual probability. Vincent, for all we know, whether you like it or not, he could make a run at an Olympic medal in the individual. He could sneak in for bronze with that content. And I got to tell you, like
he was for me in the short. Yes, I was thinking U.S. men 2 medals.
Yeah.
It's the Japanese men who will really decide, but they've got as good, it was going to be an interesting fight between about 5-6 men, but I don't put my money on Koyoda, doing it. So I would think, okay, these men, the 3 Japanese men and Nathan and Vincent are, in it for the fight for the medals. And with the maneuvering, you think, well, maybe they could get it done. But then Vincent here in the free worried me. To the point where I don't know if I have him on my team event. I don't know what I'm doing on the team event. We need to consult with Nathan first. Does Nathan, because the men's event is the first event, it's not wise.
I want to bench Nathan then. I don't even want him to do the team event.
Well, Nathan should do the short if he could get another medal.
Definitely don't do the long.
Don't do the long. From the emotional energy. But then do you put Ilia in the long because he's so young? Or do you put Vincent in the long because he's had the great year?
Well, basically, you need to make sure you beat Canada and you beat Kolyada, or Russia, rather. I
think Vincent was a fluke, but why was he so off tonight? I mean, the warm-up was really worrying. And then he went out before his program, did a triple axel, was very forward on the toe, but then he did a quad lutz. But I have to say, we noticed throughout the competition here, the skaters who were worried about an element would often do it before their free skate. 75-80% of the time, even if they nailed it right before in the 2 minutes, they would miss that jump, step out, hand down. It was like they were re-emphasizing in their head how nervous they were about that element before. Mm-hmm. Or they did it fresh on the 2 minute when the scores are coming up, but when you have to do it halfway through the program, they would do it. I were a coach, I would not allow my athlete to do that jump, the problem jump right before. I think Vincent needed to get something under his legs that was good because his warm-up was that bad. Yeah. But for other athletes, it was interesting. Okay, Wang, all of these different, I think Joe Heiner did one, and then it was all of these different athletes had so many problems like that. Getting back to the men's event, I think Vincent has earned it. For the team event, I still think they're going to go with Vincent for the long. Although I have to say that program, the short really accentuates its positives, hides its negatives.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
I thought that free skate was a dud with no jumps.
The lights went out. Yeah, they really did go out. Yeah.
It was not it.
Yeah.
It was not it.
Yeah. I don't know what they do. The thing is, like, the tricky part about the team event, of course, is like you can almost anticipate who you have to beat, right? So if
Strategy's fun though, isn't it fun?
Yeah, so because we only really have 4 nations fighting for 3 medals.
I mean, think about it. Morris Kvitishvili could beat Russia. He could beat Russia in the.
Is Georgia in the team event?
Yes, yes.
They are.
Yes.
Well, I thought there were criteria for a federation to be able to even.
There is, but Georgia has that spot. So they're in the team event. And think about it. If a Terry is training a guy who could maybe beat the Russian entry, incredible.
Yeah.
We have been so good, okay, to deserve this. Okay. Yeah. I don't know.
It's very interesting. I was sad to see what happened to Yarrow happen. That was confusing. He had like sort of a first. Todd was not here because of COVID also.
I did some tweeting and it maybe lost some fans.
Misha so was standing in for him. I don't know. He was
great trench coat, yes.
Yeah, in multiple colors. It came in multiple colors this weekend. There was a burgundy and a camel at least, but
it was his moment. It was really Misha's U.S. Nationals. Yeah.
The situation.
It felt right. It felt right that he was at U.S. Nationals. I felt like he fit in. I felt.
Yeah, and he had like such a stance, like at the thing. When Yarrow came over, it was interesting. His approach was to be very stoic. And like, I don't know if that was to stay calm. It was a little bit
he tried to fix his own boots before here. He had a boot problem and he said that he tried to fix them own. That was a mistake.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yeah, it was unfortunate that because especially when to retry and then have to stop again.
So it's interesting. Yarrow's an interesting journey. You know, he learned those jumps from Vyacheslav Zagruniak, who was the former student of Galina and Valentin Nikolaev.
Liam skated right before. Yeah, it was interesting.
So Slava has the same technique like it's Victor, so you can see it when Yarrow jumps. It's a different technique than Mishan technique. It's it's from a different school. It's like more like Victor Petrenko, right? And Yarrow then went to Morozov for a year. He lost everything, and then going to Todd really helped him get train his programs fully and get more consistent. And although oddly the spins have not been his friend over especially this season. It just felt like this year, even though he got his citizenship, it's just felt like it's been like one problem after another and he hasn't fully clicked, but it's getting way more consistent if you've seen his track record from the past.
But the momentum,
but the momentum wasn't there for him. Wasn't going to make this team.
Right.
I think if he finished ahead of Jason, they would send Jason. Even though Yarrow has the quads, he hasn't had the consistency enough to even.
And that is a little rougher PCS than someone like an Ilia. Do you know what I mean? Like, again, the quality of Ilia's quads is just.
Although the performance of Yarrow, even though there's an element that makes me like wonder if we're watching Philippe Candeloro, I don't know, the beachies, I love it. Oh my God.
And it's like a little off the music. And it's like, it reminds me of like a very energetic like kids dance recital.
Love it.
Yeah, it has that kind of energy.
You know what? He leans into the fun. I think he's always going to be the sticky skater. And I'm not going to say that in a year and a half, we're not going to be sick of it. But right now, it's fun.
Right.
I think Elvis free skate has had its day. And
yes, correct. I don't know if that was for Nashville, because everyone around us is like, Elvis, and you're like, okay, you didn't see it last year. Okay.
Talk about, but
the surprise of the event for me, though, was
you send him to 4 continents. That's my question for you.
Oh, Yarrow?
Yeah.
Oh.
You got to make the selection calls, Jonathan.
Well, I'm definitely sending Camden.
I'm sending Camden, Jimmy Mott, and Yarrow to 4 continents. Even though
that tracks.
Liam Kapekis was fabulous, I'm sending him to Junior Worlds.
Yeah. He really was.
Love him. Okay. Yeah. Sending him to Junior Worlds.
Yeah. Camden, what a moment. What a moment with those quads.
Camden has a career that actually like seems like it's over, and then he comes back, but he really showed off some better skating quality than some of the men in the final group.
This was always there, and so that was that like fan frustration. You're like, I know this is there, but again, thank goodness he had this story, because it was not a good weekend for anyone in Colorado, really. But this was like a real moment. Like, he really stepped up. It was lovely to see.
Although Claire Seo did win the junior ladies, and she's like, has some of the similar qualities to Karen Chen with the good skating skills and the nice spins and the under rotated jumps. So I think, yes, that she was lovely. But I think my teams, I think Worlds, you keep it the Olympic team, but I think likely Nathan won't go, and Jason goes. And if Nathan wins the gold in the individual, and I think,
well, like you say, if Jason is indeed the Olympic alternate and wants to take that position, there's a good chance we will see him skate at the Olympics.
True.
So yeah. Interesting stuff.
Interesting stuff. Other men that stood out to you? Anyone else?
Well, Liam and Brandon were lovely moments for me in that sort of like second.
The men's short was one of the best competitions I've been to.
It was thrilling. It was so thrilling and so needed. It's sort of like, what is it when you smudge? It's like smudge to the arena of its like funky energy. It was great.
Staged. Yeah. How about Nathan making some mistakes here? A friend of ours was pointing out, he thinks it's good. It gives him something to strive for the Olympics. So he didn't peak here.
It's an old opera thing. Like, you kind of want the rough dress rehearsal.
Well, think about how Michelle Kwan had like the best nationals of all time. And then you're like, oh my God, is she going to do it again? Wow me, Michelle. And then you're like,
recreate. Yeah, it's so hard to go.
Tano had the short that was so good, but then his free was. Remember, they had the event was held really late in '88, and he gave the performance.
Tim lost nationals on his way to Salt Lake.
Yeah. So yeah.
And he had a good air about him. Like, you can see when the heaviness was there a little bit in Skate America, that he was sort of like kind of working through like, what's that? He didn't seem concerned, because I think he's always kind of gonna figure it out. But you saw like what's going on here? And this, I know when, with the step sequence fall, there was a cute moment where he's like, oh my gosh. But for some reason, his demeanor told me not to worry.
Mm. And I think the programs he selected are the right programs.
Correct.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I think, how fun will it be if he skates the Elton John cleanly at the Olympics on television? That could be really fun for the audience. Yeah. Whether you love it, you don't love it.
I have tickets to Elton John in New York in February, so it could be like a whole theme.
Old Cold Heart, baby. A word in Spanish, my favorite Elton songs. So anyway, yeah, I think the men's event, good.
Highlight of the whole championship for me.
Junior men were not so strong this week, so you hope to see the future kind of pan out. Jimmy Ma, rough free skate, great for him to be in the final group, but you just tell from his first jump that he wasn't quite over his blade in the center, and it was a little
and quite an emotional response from him too. Yeah,
he loves skating. Jimmy Ma. I know that he's like, on some hands he's goofy. He's also a classical musician. There's like more to Jimmy Ma than we know, but he's a character, but it just wasn't his day here. So it was sad.
Yeah.
Although I have to say, it's interesting that, we're really seeing a transition of coaches, and there's been a lot of talk about who are the coaches in the US. And obviously you need coaches to come up, but then, in Russia, Nina Mosier was a junior coach for many years. She was what they call like the feeder coaches, where you're with someone like a Panova, right? The Snow Angels. And then what do? They leave and they go to a Terry, or they leave and go to Plushenka, or they leave and go, I think will happen with more in the future. And then, or Davidov, is he a feeder coach? One girl left to Terry, she actually wound up going back to him. We've seen it in pairs. We've seen it in ice dance over the years. In the US, in the last 6 years or so, I think we've seen that the Letovs and the Maryland dance teams they were feeder coaches for sure. They would produce like novice and junior champions, right? But then we wouldn't always see them last to senior. And I think they're at that stage now where they're having those awkward growing pains where like, are you going to become a top senior coach or are you going to be the queen of the pewter medal? Right. Like Mark and Peter really never got beyond, like they were the junior coaches, then they were at the pewter stage and like fighting for it, and they would get some world team members, but they were never like the frank establishment, right? And obviously there's USFS politics that plays into all of this and where they send people, recommend and go, but you also have to produce the results. I think in the dance, there's a lot of the packaging that you watch that you wonder, is someone talented enough to really strategize and do it? So I'm curious to see. It seems like they've both gotten to the point of being like the pewter medalists here, but will they go to the bronze medalists in the next years? Or I think it's an interesting narrative to follow. Will we see Mark and Peter come out? I don't know. I'm curious to see. But anyway, let's talk about the dance, actually.
My feelings are echoed in this selection committee. I am a big fan of Jean-Luc and Caitlin. I think they skate beautifully. I thought their free dance was lovely. I've always appreciated their efforts, their programs. I love his knees and speed and stuff like this. Again, I'm on that committee. I'm sending Green and Parsons because I'm looking to the future, because I know Caitlin and Jean-Luc are not in the running for a medal, just like Green and Parsons are not. But as again, if I'm a selection committee on a federation, I need to make sure I'm pumping the future. And to me, the Caitlin Jean-Luc is more of like a delightful, like pat on the shoulder, thank you, send off. So they can say they went to the Olympics, as opposed to who is the future? Who are we paving the way for these next 4 years? And we shut that on Green and Parsons, whose free dance I loved, despite their outfits.
I'm going to contradict myself here.
Okay.
I would have split it to send Hawayek and Baker to the Olympics and Green and Parsons to Worlds. And let me explain why.
Okay.
Hawayek and Baker, to me, on the rhythm dance, were not going. They were just not.
And Green and Parsons were.
To a degree. Although I didn't think that they performed either program as well as they did at Cranberry.
Okay.
But they had more abandon there. I thought that they felt tight to me here.
Okay.
Slower. I saw a difference in skating skill quality. To me, the night of the free, Hawayek and Baker just nailed it. They had the performance of the night. For me. It not just the skating, but the music, the costumes.
Oh my God, the only people with good music, I mean, like in that top three, like it was just so lovely to hear something classical for a second.
Yeah, I don't know. I just love that free dance, and I thought they just nailed it. And in that moment, I was ready for them not to go.
Okay, after the free dance, yeah.
They just like did it for me. And the other thing that I thought with Green and Parsons, that it did not help them to skate after Hubbell and Donohue. Hubbell, and for me, and I think the judges are the same, you know, anyone that like watches ice dance, and Lauren, who's done dancers with me, had a different feeling, but my opinion on this was that Hubbell and Donohue skate so big. They have so much power and skating skills.
The biggest skating, the huge ice coverage, 8 million miles an hour. Yeah.
So much that people are debating, is she the one? Is it the one partner where the girl's better than the guy? No, he's great. No, you know, and it's almost like they're both so strong, and you wonder sometimes the errors, or it's not like where one partner is following than the other. Like they are both strong forces of nature, and maybe that hurts them sometimes with some of these little errors. But I felt that Green and Parsons looked so much younger and smaller skating after them. And to me, as much as I think they have some of the coolest pictures and movements in that free dance, Michael was scratchy on the first set of twizzles. I think she, maybe the third, they got out of unison, but he was like issues in the first. I just saw nerves in that performance. And to me, if you want to be the younger one who sent, you got to skate with fire. We can't save the future, right? The future has to go outperform the other one. And in that moment, I didn't think that they did it. I
It's
thought
still from them to worlds, you're saying. To provide that cultivation of their
provide that cultivation and the points for the future.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they did it in the moment. It just was like this shy. It was like this short, but it just, I don't know, for me, but
it was modern dancey. I don't know. It was interesting. And again, it was just the future. And I see 3 couples that represent the past. And so I just always want to include someone for the future.
But the skating quality of Hawayek and Baker, they just looked more senior to me. They just looked more refined. They just looked like, okay. And I was ready to retire them. I was ready to say, this is not going anywhere.
But for you, the free dance was their gauntlet thrown that says, no, you have to send us. Okay.
That to me was it. I don't know what people think watching, but, and this, I was, how about you, but watching the second to last group of dance, I was sitting there and I wasn't necessarily just looking at the results, but I was looking at like, who are the match teams? Who has the potential? Who has the finishing? I think Karen Chen's brother is great. I think Rain in Your Black Eyes needs to be retired. I didn't think any wow was had. I thought they were consistent. I thought they had nice elements.
He in particular, he's remarkable, I think.
He is. I think he needs to bulk up a little bit. I just didn't, to me, they were like, when you see a top, like when a coach has too many athletes and the attention is not being spent there, I thought they could have more individuality. To me, it felt more expected, it wasn't wow, right?
Right.
Sezernik and Yehorov, I think I just messed up her name, but they, to me, and they didn't finish as high in the results, but just looking at natural skating ability and line and intrigue, I was like, that team should go to Marie-France tomorrow. Okay, they need to go. They need to get in a better training situation of some sort and really go. I thought Lorraine Mcmahon looks stunning.
And her skating is insanely good. She is so fast, so confident, so performative. Like, she was amazing.
Never noticed with her old partner, but she came live. I don't know. She looked like $1 million on the solo skating. I was really wowed. Just
the other guy I really liked was Somerville.
Yes,
Brachi Somerville. Like, Somerville had some really beautiful lines and edges that he was doing. I don't know about their pairing, but like,
I don't know, Jonathan. No, okay. Although there are like all these rumors about him, and I don't know, he's had different partners, and people think it's, but
that's too bad. But we'll talk later. But his skating was remarkable.
Patreon. But anyway, I
sign up now. Yeah.
He really has a je ne sais quoi, I thought.
Yeah.
But how about the top 2? Was it the right order?
Quick question before we go to top 2. It seems to me the judges are sort of over Ponomarenko.
Okay.
Are you in agreement with that?
Yes, and he's had a fracture all year and is going to have to get surgery. That's what I heard.
I see. Okay.
But so they've not had a good year. Although I was looking, but it makes sense because I was like, does he just not have the ankle bend that he's had before? Like, what is happening? I thought that there were some improvements with them. To me, I don't think that they've ever had like really unique material that was unexpected, that I didn't think I've seen a million times.
I love that Batman costume. Who'd have thought I'd have ever liked that? And the rhythm dance though? You hated it, did you say?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think it was flattering, but I think...
I like him thick.
Oh my God. But I think it was not my favorite costume, but also not my favorite music selection, but also Speeding Up, In Sync, and Justin Timberlake, also not my favorite for the team.
I know, it really changed the nuance of an entire piece just to do it really fast. But.
Although then they had a Hunger Games moment with an Aya Sherbakova dress change, like that.
Those, yeah.
But I have to say, I felt completely apathetic about which ice dance team was first and second in the free.
Because of the material? Or because of the skates themselves?
Okay, I think both programs suffer from a lack of emotional heft. Journey. They're interesting, but they're not emotional. And neither performance in person moved me.
Yeah.
I appreciated them.
And moves within those programs, which are phenomenal, but don't create an overall arc of something. I mean, I know that Madison and Evan, you do see like kids out of the ship or whatever, looks around, like they're sort of like setting a scene, but yet as an audience member, I'm not taken anywhere. I don't understand what my takeaway is from it. Do I love that they had a lot?
Looks a little bit like Johnny Weir. I do think it's a shame that they couldn't do the snake program this year. It had a different program last year. I know that she had a concussion last year. They had no time. They kept the program. It didn't work out. I don't think this was the performance of their lives
despite it resulting in the championship.
Yeah.
Which he was very emotional about. It was, I'm always looking at it objectively, competitively, and who's doing what. And then when you see some of those medal podiums, you're like, wow, they're really going through it.
I thought they had the lifts and the dance spin. Hubbell and Donohue had the individual skating.
And that opening lift and that exit out of that opening lift is amazing. I think it's the best part of the whole thing.
And the last little choreographic lift that Chock and Bates did had like a issue. Hubbell was very emotional on the podium.
She was trying really hard. I don't think it was I think she was being very classy, and I think it was just really tough. It was really tough for her.
I think it's the last nationals, I think, for them. They've said that. They wanted to go out for a win. They're trying, are they going to get the Olympic? Does this hurt their Olympic medal chances? They really wanted to win. They went for the win. They skated. They had a moment.
But they also had 3 errors in this competition.
They did, and they had a bigger ovation though than Chock and Bates, but it is dance. People don't know the rules as well as other things. But yeah, I don't know. It was
tough.
Really tough. In the pairs, I thought this was the easiest selection because Callahan and Johnson just didn't get it done.
They made it easy, unfortunately. Yeah. I mean, it was, I have to say, like, the short program, again, I was sorry to have missed it because when I watched it, I was like, who are these people? This was an incredible pair. It's like, you would have thought, like, everyone's just going to nail all the time. It was a great, great event. Mm-hmm. And then in the free, really, Ashley and Tim, like, they know how to see an open door, and they just marched right through it. It was really lovely to see. I did understand much more the Liu and how do you say this? Microfono. Yeah, I understood the interest in them more live than I did in video, because I admitted to you that, like, when Megan was intrigued by something they might have and can do something with, I didn't necessarily understand it. But they are fast and they do interesting things. I don't find a connection to any of the material. I don't find they connect to each other or they've settled in, but they do have a lot of speed and they just kind of have a presence that's interesting, but unfortunately couldn't put it together here. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. And Emily Chan and Spencer Howe, they really didn't have a great skate either.
Yeah.
It was a tough pair event. It was not the best competition. I thought that Kayna Leduc looked strong.
Her landings on the throws impressed me because we're so used to seeing the knee really bent and a little bit forward on a lot of those, but she saved them very admirably. And the triple loops, and I don't know, again, they know also the power of a performance, I think.
So John, if we split the men, that means that we can either split the ladies, the dance, or the pairs. You only get one other that you split in the team event.
Which discipline comes after men? Do you know? We know pairs is last.
Pairs is last. I think it
would probably go what? Then men, dance.
Yeah, ladies.
Pairs probably then.
Think about this. Are you?
I know.
Did Ashley and Timothy just earn a double spot in the team event?
I think they did. If they want it. I think also there's got to be some discussion with the athletes to kind of go.
I have never seen someone want to be an Olympian more than Ashley Kane and Timothy Leduc this season. They've just wanted it.
Yeah, and they did everything they needed to make sure it happened. Yeah, I at this point, I would put them in the team event for both.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, I think they would place either Alexa and Brandon or Timothy and Ashley would ultimately finish probably in the similar standings amongst the countries in the team event. So at that point, I think Timothy and Ashley have definitely earned it.
I don't think there's a strategic reason to split maybe any of the other disciplines. Is there an ethical reason to split the dance because they're both so strong?
Right. And you can, and again, you're gifting an Olympic medal, whatever we think about it, sometimes we have to remind ourselves it is an Olympic medal. Like if they can both go forward and say they have one, that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think
it's intriguing to me that you think they wouldn't split the ladies.
Why?
So that one person can't screw it all up.
They both have an equal opportunity to screw up both programs.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. But then you think like, who do you put in for the only lady? Mariah? With almost a guaranteed triple-double in the short?
Same with Karen Chen.
Yeah. And Alyssa potentially with the fall on the axle. So yeah, that's a tough call.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it should be the.
They're not going to put Hubbell and Donohue in the team event so that we can have a lady they've seen no consistency of any kind. It's not like we had a lady that, she's done really the short so well this season.
Right. Oh, just can't get the short, but she's always great in the long. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, it's up in the air for both skaters, both programs. Yeah.
I think ethically to split the dance, I don't know. The ladies, I just don't feel strongly about it.
Yeah.
They both.
After the Shibutanis, in my opinion, also put some shenanigans as non-national champions, insisting they were the only dance team in the event. So Hubbell and Donohue don't have a dance, or they don't have a team medal, and they have definitely earned one.
Well, the Shibutanis have been world medalists and Grand Prix final medalists, and that's how they were given that opportunity to pick, and they chose to do both events, and that was really hard for Hubbell and Donohue. 4 years later, there's no Grand Prix final, and now Chock and Bates beat them at nationals.
Yeah.
I think ethically you should split the dance. I could see them splitting the ladies, and I just don't know if it really matters to split the ladies.
Right.
Unfortunately for Alexa and Brandon, I don't see the argument of splitting the pairs.
Right.
And I thought that they would be the team to do the pair event before this competition at nationals, but now they didn't compete. And Ashley and Timothy skated so well.
And landed their jumps very convincingly. I know she doubled the one, but like in general,
Alexa and Brandon have been nailing the jumps at triple toe. Has been a problem in recent weeks. So, all right, let's discuss the ladies. What are you thinking about these ladies? You had a lot of emotions about it. So I want to ask you, I feel like I've always thought about being the mean one, but what did you expect at U.S. Nationals? It's not like they've been great, okay? These ladies.
Where it's flustering, and again, like the way I said it in my head was cheeky, and then when I reread it, I thought, oh, that's not how you meant it. But here's the thing: we aren't competitive in women's, and NBC, of course, does nothing to curb the expectations of their viewers. I had some people, who are watching and know I'm here and into skating, but they kind of watch it at the Olympics and they're like, oh, so do you think Mariah Bell or Karen can win a medal at the Olympics?
No.
And I was like, the fact that you even think that means that the commentary has been absolutely outrageous. I mean, then the public is confused when we go 10, 11, 12.
Well, you can't sell an event on TV being like, well, you're watching a bunch of people who suck. Okay, you can't.
They don't. But the technical content can't keep them relevant here. And they're like, well, what do you want? A true spell where they're going to break. I was like, well, there's a big difference between 5 quads and a isolated triple toe. Or
I just always answer that question being like, you just have to watch the rest of the world. There are some girls that are really, really strong from the other countries. It's going to be really hard, but they've got a good shot at a team medal. That's how I handle things for different individual people. Like I just like back up and
have 3 Russians and 3 Japanese girls and 2 Korean girls and a Belgian girl. Like the field is deep.
Ask me that question if I don't either want to invest in the conversation or I really don't want to get into it because I know like to explain it.
Also when everyone comes up and they're like, Mariah Bell is the most beautiful skater I've ever seen, I think she should win a medal at the Olympics. Do you think she will, Dave?
You know, I think she skated really well here. I mean, she's so beautiful and hey, I mean, she really seems like she's skating well right now. So anything happens at the Olympics.
Now, and to be fair, I just also want to...
Jonathan, I can say the right thing. It just pains me. Okay? Like...
I mean, yeah, here's the thing. These athletes are incredible. They're under a lot of pressure. They're all doing the best they can. If Mariah had a quad toe, she'd be doing a quad toe. We know that she wouldn't be able to have that, but it's even slipped from their own performances in the past. And again, that goes to my thing, like, where are the people underneath that are being cultivated? We're still looking at...
Okay. Having not watched the events with any glasses of wine, I was watching the event just feeling like I'm really interested here to see, is Mariah going to skate better than Karen, or is Karen going to skate better than Mariah? What is Isabeau going to do? What is Lindsay going to do? But I took my brain out of it that said, there's no way these women are competitive in the rest of the world. I just put that aside. I was like,
just let it unfold. Yeah.
I just wanted to watch, having watched Karen and Mariah 4 years, how are they going to stack up against each other? Two very beautiful skaters.
And they really are. They really are. I never mean to take away from that.
There's not a lot of jumps happening, right? And which one was better? And watching Mariah was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that Mariah Bell went out and did the Nancy Kerrigan program where she doubled the flip and then the rest was home. And you're like, wait, did she need the flip or not? I don't know.
Right.
Don't know. Right? Like, it was good. It was very good for what she can do.
Right.
Did she nail it beyond a reasonable doubt? You know, there was room.
As well as she did when she got the silver medal. No.
Karen goes out. I thought Karen had it.
I did too.
Until the last 30 to 45 seconds when she went into the loop toe. And I was like, oh my God, they were both under. And I just felt in the moment, in the arena, that Karen didn't sell it in the Michelle Kwan way that you close a program at nationals.
Right.
By the way, Michelle Kwan won the nationals again here. Figure skaters always do things for attention during nationals. Michelle Kwan giving a baby. We didn't know she was pregnant. We don't know who the father is. You can't even, she took Nashville back, okay? She took it back. It was the 10th title that she didn't get. And you know what? She took that freaking thing. Callista Kwan, we didn't know she was pregnant. We didn't know who there's a father. She's like the ambassador of Belize. Jonathan, like, yes, triple toe, double toe, and then a fall at the end of it, which is absolutely unnecessary and uncalled for. Yes, and that's the shirt that we bonded over. That's how we can print this out on Facebook. I was like, we need to know each other. Yes. I mean,
so here's what's interesting to me. In the short program, I thought
Karen had it.
I thought Karen had it because I thought Mariah's combo was not that much better than Karen's. But according to the scores, it was. And that part intrigued me. In person, like, I also know, I adore Mariah. I find her lovely. I find her skating pleasing. I don't seem to be as drawn to it or as excited by it as other people seem to be. I have always been drawn to Karen's skating because of its power. So when she comes out, just her inherent speed and like core and her, just the way she moves just pulls me in a little bit more. So I'm always going to err on the side of Karen. That's just my opinion. But the judges didn't seem to agree with me. And Karen seemed very relieved with her second place. Like, maybe she was even worried about second place for her.
I think it's always relieving to make an Olympic team when you have to put up with that pressure on the night.
Yeah.
Although I did like her short program better last year, or even on 4 years ago. This, to me, I didn't like the new short programs.
This one, the Loon one, was always my favorite of hers. But
I like to see her look beautiful. And
yeah, but I would have had her in first after the short, for sure.
Yeah, I could see that argument for sure. all right, let's get into it, because you wanted to pick my brain about the Alysa Liu situation. What do you want to go into? Jonathan, I thought that she should have been 6th in the short program.
I thought, hold on. Yeah, well, it was, if I were Lindsay, I would have, that was the one who got really sort of like buried by that. I thought, because it would have been,
It seemed like there were selective calls for
I
some.
would have either had her 5th or 6th. So here's the thing.
She seemed like she didn't want to be out there. Okay, in the practice.
Oh, so you said it then. So here we're talking about, oh my God, Gracie, 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 Gracie. And I was like, okay, well, you're celebrating what Gracie has accomplished and overcome. Mm-hmm. There's a part of me that thinks we're seeing it begin.
Yes, with the same agent, Jonathan.
Right in front of us. And while we're applauding something who's overcome, we're seeing someone descend into exactly that thing. And
yes.
You know, the move sent all the wrong red flags. Arthur's anxiety and panic reads as anxiety and panic about her skating. And in my opinion, she has taken on a different vibe in the skating. Mm-hmm. And I think this commentary of where she rearticulates that it's a hobby and she's trying to reclaim something or figure something out. And I don't envy being in that position.
Lives over the last few weeks where she was saying that she was kidnapped and that she didn't want to skate.
She was. I'm sorry. This was the total wrong move, and it has totally backfired. I
really feel for her. And okay, so I have I have different opinions about all of the things, right? And I think this summer really solidified a lot of things. But I know that the official story is that Simone just got the twisties and that it happened, and Larry Nassar and all of that, right? But Simone was also dealing with pressure and a ton of hype that was built up over a long period of time. She had a pandemic. It was stretched out for another year. She had all these, like, her toe is messed up beyond belief and everything. And she had all of these concerns. And she was also unusual to see someone partying on Instagram when that's not what like a gymnast followed by young girls does, but it just seemed like there was some rebellion to it. Not the fact that she would drink, like, as a person who's of age, like not unusual for someone, but unusual for someone who's hunkering down, trying to get physically ready, that has to go do a triple double in practice on Monday to go be, out drinking on Sunday. That I think is unusual, right? That's all I'm saying. And I'm not judging her for it, but I'm thinking that there are signs that maybe her heart wasn't in it, right? Michelle Kwan used to talk about how she would be like to have the strictest diet of all time before Worlds because you couldn't stay that regimented all year. But before the big competition, she would really like dial it in and get in the zone. And I felt like we didn't see Simone dial it in and get in the zone. And then we saw some strange things happening on TV where she was crying and said she wanted to die or acted like she didn't want to be there. And then she made like interesting comments on an Ask Me Anything on Instagram stories, like in the days before they were competing, when they were locked in their hotel rooms in Tokyo, which gets, they're going to be in Beijing. They're not going to be allowed to walk around and live and socialize with people. So my concern then is if you have someone whose skating was overscored for the jumps were not clean in the beginning. Right. She had to go through so much. She grew, she became older. They're trying to adjust the technique, but she's been going to different coaches. And I think everyone's trying to do the best thing for her, but not everyone has, her new coaches haven't coached her for that long. They don't have this like long relationship to know, oh, what's she like when she gets stressed or upset, or how do you handle her, right? If someone makes a comment with that much pressure on them that they can't wait to be done, or that they just want it to be over with, and they're talking about it publicly, knowing that people are going to see it, I'm sorry, but to me, I'm looking at scandals. I look at Vanessa Adler before 2000. I look at Simone. I look at different athletes who just didn't deliver at the Olympics, who didn't really want to be there. Karen had boot problems and Mr. Mother 4 years ago and has, wanted to regret it. But you wonder, like, was that the right decision? If she didn't want to be there, is it the right person? Mariah felt like she had done the Olympics after the team event struggled to get to the individual, right? Like it was hard, and she made comments. But in that moment, you're like, well, then is that really the right person to have at the Olympics? And is it healthy for them? Is it healthy to go out to the Olympics and bomb? What does that do to your mental health for the rest of your life?
Right.
Although, what does it do if you quit right before? Granted, these are not great
scenarios either way. Yeah. But again, I think it was this move that did this. In any sort of like progress that you're making with your own skating, with music, whatever, you're going to take 3 steps forward. It's going to slip back just a smidge, and then you're going to keep going, and it's going to slide back, and you're going to keep eventually just getting to where you want to go, hopefully. I just felt there was so little patience for anything less than a quad Lutz by Canada or something, and I felt that even through all the changes, all the pressure, she was handling it beautifully until this moment, until this change. And I hope she's okay, and I hope she finds a settled way to deal with this. I find it totally unfair.
It's hard to deal with Olympic qualifying pressure away from your friends. You're taken out of your environment. You're a teenager.
No comforts, no outlets, no, coping mechanisms. Like, I don't know what they were thinking.
The Bay Area to Colorado, like a very change of scenery, right?
And it sounds trite, and it's not to objectify anyone, but we know that at certain ages in skating also, like, their hair is their control when they want to send a statement. And she did show up. You can tell that she's trying to.
She was making a lot of statements with she's being a kid and acting, but she just seemed someone that was.
It's a tough time.
There wasn't another option that really nailed it on the night.
Yeah.
I would have named the same team. Given what we had, I felt like they.
I didn't think that was an incorrect. That was, to me, the only
anyone else delivered.
Right.
Had Lindsay delivered, had Amber delivered, I would have argued to send them.
Right.
Lindsay wanted to do the triple axel, and she went for it, and she went gutsy, and that's her.
Yeah,
it was the wrong call.
Yeah.
But hindsight is 2020, and Amber having such a bad short
after a pretty decent warm-up.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Just
unfortunate, because you know what? It's always more exciting to see the fight through. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I would have loved for her to have challenged, but I mean, I think it was pretty clear what had to happen. So
my heart broke for Gracie. I just wanted her to pull in, and at the last, it just felt like she lost a little bit of the fight as the program went on. And it was like she had it. Her jumps were the best of the event, but her warm-up was
that triple Lutz, triple toe in the short program. That was old school, and it was exciting, and it was such the moment of nationals, and it was unfortunate because you wish she had more of that moment to end on as opposed to begin with. But it was clear it was right there. And when
she was training like that last spring, even better than what we saw in the short. And then she went to Switzerland, she came back and it wasn't the same. And then she never got that momentum back, but then she got it back before here. You just wish that she just had Gracie stayed on what she was in like May, June. Go on Patreon, look at it. She would have been on that Olympic team. Okay. She looked so freaking good, but it just like things happened, but she has it still. She's still probably the best athlete in the event.
No one had that kind of spring. Yeah.
It was so good. And then I thought there were some standouts in the second to last group.
We had Gracie much higher in the short.
Oh, yes.
The fact that she was basically tied with Gabriela Izzo was very perplexing to me. Yeah.
Well, they judged Gracie as someone that wasn't in contention for the Olympics.
Right.
We've seen skating before. She did not have the last 4 years to get scores of what you see on the night.
Right.
She was scored someone that did a great performance, but was expected to be lower.
Extraordinary. Oh, yeah.
And that's it all. We talk about it all the time. The season, it's not right, but it's the way that the season works. It's the way the game works. And Gabby Izzo has had a good season. She didn't deliver it here as strongly as she has elsewhere, but she's had a good season.
Yeah.
Well, they did make her the third alternate instead of the first alternate. That was
But I think that's right. I think that's right.
probably right. Probably right. They went with strategy there, and I think that's
It was fascinating, and we can move past this quickly. But for instance, Lindsay's short program really was, I thought it deserved to be third. The technical content was so solid and so great, but I have to be honest, like the audience response to her in general was pretty lukewarm in the arena.
just Lindsay is who she is, and she's a sweet person, and she's a hard worker. She doesn't have the performance quality to grab you by the throat.
Yeah.
So she trains so hard every day, but she performs like she expects to skate like that.
Yeah.
I think that all they have to do is really work with her on the theatrics and the dramatics and bringing that out more. And if she could get more.
Well, what's interesting, Dave, is I don't think that's a choreographer telling you to look in a certain direction.
No, it's
like
classes off high, it's growing.
Psychology, where it's like, how do we like scratch the surface or beyond the surface to get to something real that you want to omit or emit rather. I mean, I'm pretty sure she was tearing up during the long. It was tough to watch.
Well, Lindsay does not miss like that.
Right.
She decided to throw in the kitchen sink and go for it, and it didn't work out. She doesn't miss that second jumping pass after that's what was disappointing for her. They wanted to go for it, and listen, I mean, watching her against Isabeau, that's an exciting back and forth of Jersey.
Isabeau was lovely to watch.
Lovely.
Lovely. And excellent, best music choices in the whole event. Just really, really lovely. And just a reminder for those who are curious, she is not of age, to go to the Olympics. That's why. But
the softest kneed landings. Oh my God. Her illusion spins. Oh my God. Christian was gasping. He was loving it.
Yeah.
She's a great eye spin.
Really beautiful stuff there. Yeah.
On one hand, I was like, wait a second. We had one girl that was too young getting replaced, Alysa Liu in practice, getting outdone by Isabeau, who's also too young. It was like, it was a little disturbing, actually. Watch like that. You're talking about like the Gracie Alyssa connective thread. I was like, well, they've got another one now. But she stole the show. I mean, she has that.
She was the skater of that discipline, in my opinion. And I'm thrilled that Mariah got a national title. But again, that's an emotional thing, and that's a sentimental thing, and I love all of that. But like Isabeau, I mean,
yeah, Captain Izzo was scrappy as all can be. Not her best performance of the year. She's done, especially the short. She's had really good shorts this year.
To do so.
Yeah, I have to say, I loved Jill Heiner. We watched her last year. She did a Mary Poppins program in the virtual event.
Right.
But she switched coaches.
Right? Yeah.
She switched coaches. She's with Roman Skorniakov and Ilia Malinin. By the way, Galina was saying that Malinin means roseberry. I don't know if she meant roseberry or raspberry, but that's what Malinin means. So she's like, he's roseberry boy. Like, also, why does he have the mother's last name and not the father's? I am not sure. He skates more like the father. They have these like more like a stiffness in the legs and these long legs. But anyway, Jill Heiner's with his parents now. She did the La La Land with the huge triple Lutzes and the huge triple.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what Tatiana did. I mean, hers was the same.
So that was really something. She was great. I got Hannah Harrell. Not that people like are this upset about the
former medalist. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She had big jumps. Okay. If you look at some of those protocols, I'm just saying, it seemed like there was a bonus from being coached by Tammy Gamble in the ladies event. Okay. When it came to how we were judging the GOE of some of the cheetah jumps.
But wasn't Nisha with Hannah?
I'm not talking about Hannah. I'm talking about.
I see what you're saying. To balance out. I got it.
Now, Audrey Chen had the best warm up. She is a lovely skater. Under pressure, those jumps failed her.
So did the music. A taste limitation there. Yeah.
When she got the score, I was like, oh, Tammy's power is real. Oh, that is real. Oh, yes.
But it's in the USFS, it's strange to me which coaches they all just get behind and what centers they get behind.
Oh, Justin Dillon used to be Tammy's assistant. Come on, and then he moved to Colorado.
It just pushes the wrong sort of things sometimes, but yeah.
The USFS. Come on.
But they shouldn't need all the help. That's the point. Like, why does that camp always need that help?
Well, now they have Victor Pfeiffer helping with the jumps, or they have Damon Allen, or they have this one. It's interesting that just, I don't know. That was something else.
Yeah, I think if I was competing, it'd be the last place I go.
You have to watch what's happening in Colorado. It's fascinating. Think about the rise of Drew Meekins. Although I have to say,
this was not a successful weekend for him.
Drew Meekins came into this event with Alysa Liu. Granted, he's now an Olympic coach. Not once, but twice. He was on the Kiss and Cry with Vincent. But Vincent shit the bed of the long. Alysa got COVID.
Shit the bed in the short, in some ways, you know.
Granted, she's been with him for 16 minutes. And now someone came into the rink. Natalia Miskatchuk has left the Delilah camp and is now coaching pairs with Drew. I mean, talk about things converging for a great skating politician. He looked great in the Kiss and Cry, dressed impeccably. Loved the scarf today. And Vincent didn't love the Vincent performance. Also, they made the cardinal sin that some coaches do. When he did so well in the short, they were jumping up and down. And you're like, wait a second. You're against Nathan Chen. You want to act like he does that every day. Like, that's no surprise.
Right. Like,
telegraph.
Usual, he's always that great. Yeah, I totally get that. Roth with one of these. Keep it going. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that says that's what he does. Yeah. Instead of oh my gosh, we never believed it was possible.
I have to say, the Peacock microphone for the juniors, heaven.
Kiss and Cry?
Yes.
Oh, amazing. Okay.
Suna Murray is great because she looks like old money, right?
And you may think she's from skating in the 70s, but she's really from that YouTube clip where she rips out the sideboards. Remember that? Yeah. Okay.
Jonathan, she looked like she was like in Downton Abbey meets 2022 Nationals. I mean, she just fab sitting there. Right?
Amazing. Yeah.
But then people are like, she's saying stuff under that mask. Look at the kid, right? Alexei Letov. I texted Olga and I was like, he looks like he's dressed to go to the bar in Moscow with Roman Serov in that hat. Yeah. You got to take it off.
Something was really strange about that look. Yeah. And you're right, it does send an overall message about packaging. It's sort of like if you're on the fence, it sort of like pushes you one way or the other.
I thought Olga's fur was maybe a little severe. Like, was she in Yekaterinburg? Like, it wasn't that cold here. Okay.
Yeah, I was cold in my seat.
Darlene Kane's red Uggs.
They look like Santa slippers.
Texas, right? That's what I thought there.
Yeah, they're like
Naomi Narnell was very blonde.
Say it again.
Naomi Narnell was very blonde, and they had this girl. What was her name? Clarice? Oh, wait. I texted Karen Kwan about it, that she had a doppelganger in there. There was a lady, a junior lady. She looked like young Karen Kwan. She had like the maroon costume on that looked just like her. Oh my God, what was her name? Come on, for the kids, it's like a big deal if we acknowledge they exist. What was her name? I was watching it. Wait a second. There was a girl that looked just like Sarah Hughes, who's also ended with an H, and she did Don Quixote in the junior ladies. It was like looking back in time.
Yeah.
Also, maybe a triple flip with questionable rotation. It was Amy Evidente and Naomi's girl. She looked like Karen Kwan.
Oh, they had several good junior girls.
They did. Oh, her name is Elise. Her name is Elise, the one that I liked. Okay. It was like, wow. She was giving me some Karen Kwan.
They're teaching well. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and Tommy Steenberg seemed like the most supportive and nice coach. I was like, who? He's not from Hackensack. Who is he? Also, props to Ava Ziegler, who I skate with, who got the silver in the ladies event. So her mom is Patricia Mansfield. She was at the Providence Nationals in '95. It's a very cool spiral sequence. Look it up. And she's a real aggressive mother type.
Lady with a good spiral could be. Yeah.
She always on. Dave, are we gonna do the axle today? What are we doing? Where are we going?
Tell me what we're achieving. Yeah, okay. It was interesting. When we were watching like some of the things that I had to miss on the first day on Peacock, the board or the box in the upper corner was a little bit different this time, I felt.
Yeah.
Where one, it was like showing a red square consistently before it would put in the number, which was unfortunate because it kept making me think of those green, yellow, red things. It kept making me think there were all these like problems when there weren't actually. And I can't remember if it was in this one or if it was only in the Canadian one, where instead of showing you the plus GOE that it was accruing, it was just giving you a new number. I don't know, they constantly futz with that box. And I think at some point they're just giving us too much information.
It's like a video game. It's a lot happening. It's
yeah, exactly.
What was your moment of nationals, John?
Well, originally it was Gracie's short program. That was like a real, it's just like lovely to see someone just stop struggling and get it down, the thing that they've always been searching to do. But I would say Ilia, I'm sorry, like just the excitement of him being able to back up. And there's, come on, like the new and the future and the excitement and the joy and I don't know, it was just, I really loved it. I really, really loved it.
And short as a whole was really just like a moment.
Yeah.
Love.
100%.
The best to watch.
Yeah.
Want to know, what was your moment of the week? Did you have Mariah or Karen ahead? What are you going to do about the team event? What are you doing about the men's team? What are you doing about all of this? Hold an edge. Thanks, everyone. Bye.